usually you're helping some of the largest crypto hedge funds with their research, doing deep dives, fundamentals, tokenomics, you name it. Today, what I want to talk about is something a little bit different. It's a different piece of research you just put out, and you were looking at what new money is buying, kind of what the average person thinks of crypto, what they're looking at, what they're bullish on. And in this market that we're in right now with meme coins pumping, that's almost more valuable.
Yeah, these guys are in their own group chats, and man, there were so many tickers that I was like, I have never even heard of this thing. And it was so different than, my feed on crypto Twitter, all the Telegram chats I'm in. I think they were outperforming some of my crypto native on-chain friends, which was like cool to see.
So I want to rip through all those things that you learned, that you published. But first off, where'd you find these people? Where are you finding this is the most valuable group in the world? Where'd you find these people?
Yeah, so one thing I got to preface with is, I put out this thread, basically went back to New York, was spending some time there with some friends, was able to just hang out with a bunch of my friends that I've known since like high school, college, and even like early work at Bloomberg and Deutsche Bank, right? Basically all of them don't work in crypto. Some of them work in banking, some of them are in like real estate, some of them are lawyers. So a little bit like a very broad and diverse group. But all of them, and I kind of call them normies in the thread, and we kind of like laugh. I've laughed with them about it too. But some people on crypto got upset because they're like, man, these guys are not normies. After I kind of like talk through how they were thinking about the space, how they're navigating the space. So maybe I can preface by saying there should be a better term between like a crypto native on-chain degen and normies, and maybe like the term that we come up with for this pod is like crypto curious, right?
Yeah.
Someone who has ventured down a little bit. A lot of these guys, it's their second cycle, right? But they did kind of come in near the top of the last one, right? So, and they don't really spend 24/7 thinking about crypto like you, me, and like most of, the autistic people on crypto Twitter do, right? So one thing that I really took away was that basically both conversations were very similar, right? Like everyone was talking about meme coins. But my normie friends, they had like a very different kind of take. And I think they were, outperforming some of my, crypto native on-chain friends, right? Which was like cool to see. But yeah, the one thing that was like clear was that like everyone was kind of like obsessed talking about crypto. I just was asking them questions and like listening.
Right.
Because like they have been, we have like a group chat and stuff. And usually I'm just sharing like high level stuff for them. Like I'm not trying to like help manage their portfolios or anything. I'm just like, hey, I'm bullish ETH and Sol here, etc. Things like that. Like you should buy some, hold it for the next year, 2 years, whatever, right? But these guys are in their own group chats, and they were even showing me kind of like some of their group chats, scrolling through it, and man, there were so many tickers that I was like, I have never even heard of this thing, and it just like was so different than my feed on crypto Twitter, all the Telegram chats I'm in, and all the conversations I was having. So honestly, I just kind of like listened and kind of like almost took mental notes, right? And then when I got back home, you know what? I should put this thread out because like I learned a lot from it, and maybe other people will too.
Yeah, it blew up immediately. I think that group that you just described is probably playing a bigger role each cycle too. Like the not so much normie, like it's their first time into crypto. Yeah, crypto curious is one, or like passive crypto investors, like people that don't look at this stuff all the time, but they're definitely making moves. Like they're interested in what's happening. They don't spend all their time on it.
Some of these friends, they're good friends, so we have like very transparent relationships, right? So like back when my friends and I, we quit Deutsche Bank to start Delphi, a lot of them were like looking at us like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like this makes no sense. Even after that first cycle, after we started Delphi in like 2020s and COVID and stuff, a lot of them still kind of questioned crypto, right? Like if this was going to be here to stay. I think one thing that I really took away from our conversations this weekend was that no one is questioning that anymore. Not only just them, but like their friends, their parents. Like that was the real kind of like startling part to me, was like they were telling me that a lot of their parents were like okay with them investing money or talking about crypto, etc. Whereas like some of their parents are very conservative and didn't want that shit in the house, right? They were just like, hey, don't bring this up. Like you should be looking at Apple and Microsoft and stuff like that. And now their parents have kind of started coming around to where, all right, this thing is not going away, so we have to kind of like think about it, right? I think that was very bullish for me to like hear, especially if some of my friends' parents, they're not like the type that are like embracing this stuff. And just like I think a lot of people have seen other people get rich and kind of like make money in crypto, and they don't want to be left on the sidelines. And at this point, especially I think after the FTX the three arrows, the Luna kind of like crashes. It's surviving that is just like more Lindy effect, more kind of like reason where, all right, if it's not going away now and it's going up again, what is going to be able to stop this, right? It really looks like a one-way street now.
I noticed that even with my dad, I got him to buy in 2017. So he bought close to almost the top actually. So it was like 15K, 16K, I think were his first Bitcoin buys. And then all of 2018, 19, 2020, even like 2021, maybe not all the time, but he definitely bugged me quite a few times of like, hey, can we log into Gemini? Can I sell this? I was like, Dad, like if we bought then, the whole plan is like, do you need the money? He's like, no, I don't need the money. And it's like, okay, you're staying in. But then this most recent cycle, he actually was the one interested in buying again, making a bigger investment. So it was end of 2022, beginning of 2023, he's the best trader of all time, apparently. He buys the bottom of Bitcoin below 20K, gets into ETH at like, what was it, 15, 1600, somewhere around there. And throughout the entire now 2023 and this run, now everything's up like 3x for him. He hasn't mentioned selling once. And if anything, like he sent me some funny texts of like, if someone goes on Fox and they, give the Bitcoin thesis, or if someone gets roasted about not understanding Bitcoin, like he'll send it to me and like make some joke about fiat. Like it's incredible. Like it's probably the ETF played a role in that. And I think, as you said, also just crypto surviving and the tulip bubble, as people love to say, that coming back again after a certain amount of times. You can't deny it. You can't be like, oh, that was a flash. It's like, nope, it just keeps going higher. So that's interesting, man. My dad is now a holder too. Like, I don't think I could get him to sell if I wanted him to sell. So
I love it. Yeah. No, my dad actually, works at Delphi now, right? He's like a CFO. But he's very conservative. He's very risk averse. He's a CPA, right? Like an accountant for like 30, 40 years. And when we started Delphi, I mean, he was very supportive, right? He was like, hey, like, I feel like you're going to regret it if I tell you not to do this. So go ahead. But like, when we started, he was like, hey, like the good thing is, like, I know your bosses and everyone like you. So like, if this doesn't work out, you can go back and work at Deutsche Bank. I was like, man, like, I'm telling you, that is not the plan, right? Like we're not going back. And now he's really come around. He really doesn't have that much crypto exposure because he says, Anil, you're my leverage crypto exposure. Like you have way too much, Actually, it like makes a lot more sense to him right now too, right? And I think this kind of like happens to everyone. And I think like this is one thing that I always tell people too, is like, I think people really like underappreciate why you, me, like everyone who's on CT has like dedicated their lives to like working in this industry. When I started learning about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and really learning about how like, government monetary policy is just like fucked for, eternity. Yeah. And this is only going to go in one direction. It didn't give me a choice. Yeah, I didn't have a choice. I was like, this is the only way that obviously I can benefit off this kind of like trend, but also kind of make an impact and kind of like provide other people an alternative to get out of that trend, right? Yeah. I do explain that to, a lot of my, normie crypto curious friends a lot, and they get it. But, one thing that I also took away was like, they're really here to make money, right? Like at the end of the day, they told me straight in my face, like, we know you believe in this, and we know like you think this is going to change the world, and we could see that happening. Like I think they don't like discount that. Like they don't care about that right now. All they want to do is get this bag.
All right, well, let's get into it. What you found from the most valuable research group in the world right now. People would be paying. There's probably someone, if they could figure it out, they would set up an alternative Delphi Digital that doesn't do deep dives on tokens. It just does surveys of the left side of the curve, or people that are just brand new to crypto, and they'd probably make a lot of money. I would definitely pay for that service. But anyways, you did it for us. I want to go through just some of the top findings, and I think compare and contrast with everyone that watches this or listens to this on crypto Twitter is like deep in the weeds. So it might be interesting to see kind of where the hardcore degen 24/7 in crypto diverges from someone who's just kind of looking from a different lens. And I think that's kind of where some opportunity could be. So first thing you found, unanimous, they all love Solana.
That was like one of the main things that I kind of took away. So I've obviously been, super bullish ETH. I'm still super bullish ETH. Most of my net worth is in ETH right now. I think one thing that I took away was these guys are all trading on Solana. They're using things like Bird Eye and like Deck Screener and stuff, right? Like religiously. They're in other group chats. They're trying to find meme coins. Some of them are finding meme coins like couple $100,000 market cap, right? They're basically seeing it as lottery tickets. And for them, they love the Solana UX. They don't care that it's gone down. Honestly, I brought that up. I brought up Duncan, right? And I brought up like blobs and stuff, and they kind of like laughed at it. They just thought it was another meme that was on ETH. And for them, they were just like, man, the gas fees are way too high. And on Solana, I could pay pennies to like, buy a couple $100 worth of a coin that, could go to zero, but at least I'm saving on gas, right? Also, I got a lot of those guys into Solana, early last year. So they've made good money on Solana, right? And obviously if you make money on something, you kind of like have this kind of like psychological kind of like relationship with it. And I also was able to, send them some like video guides and stuff on how to like do things like use Jito and stuff like that. And a lot of them got airdrops in Jito that, some of these people's PAs in crypto are like, less than 6 figures for sure, right? And that like Jito airdrop, immediately gave them double-digit percent returns. And for them, that was like insane, right? Like it was kind of like I remember when Uniswap airdrop happened, and we were talking to a lot of people playing Axie. Like it was insane how much that changed their lives, and that's the same kind of thing that I saw here. So I think a lot of these people have a lot of conviction and kind of like loyalty to Solana now. And honestly, they just use it like literally every day. Like they haven't really been using Telegram bots or anything like that. They're just using it on their computer. They're using wallets like Backpack, SoulPlayer, and stuff like that.
One interesting trend that is wild how it worked like this, but a meme from last cycle when the L1s were the most important trade, it was what everyone was trading. It was Solana, then AVAX launched their ecosystem fund, then you long Luna, then you long, it was like a trade over and over of this chain's faster, if activity happens, it'll go up. One of the interesting things about the current meta of meme coins and so much trading being on chain is that was kind of a meme last cycle of like this chain has higher throughput, lower fees. It's now become a fundamental. So like something that was a meme became like actually a reason that you would want to use Solana, and it's because of meme coins. So like there's weird ways that the meme coin meta of so many people focusing on this and playing that game because it's the hottest game in town is kind of driving like some of the fundamental differences of these chains to come to life. It's wild to see that work.
Yeah, no, I think that's an important point. Like I think a lot of, obviously you've seen a lot of people kind of like share their opinions on meme coins. I think it's like kind of like over discussed. It's kind of like a lot simpler than people are making it. And obviously, like, I don't think, people are like either hate it or love it. I don't think you need to have an emotion to it. It just is, right? The market is. It's kind of like looking in a mirror. Like you can't be that mad at it because like you're participating in it and the market that you're in is participating in it, right? And obviously there are downsides, and maybe I can talk about those first. Like I think one of the only real downsides I see in meme coins, or maybe two, obviously, it makes people think that this is just continuously going to be a casino and stuff like that. Yep. But I think more the big downside that I think of is like, at Delphi Ventures, we back like so many strong teams that have been building through the bear. Jito is one of them, right? They were building for like years. When everyone was discounting Solana, and obviously for them, it kind of like worked out, but there are a lot of other teams out there that have been building for a while. And, you see this meme coin craze and someone being able to like, start a contract and like, make multiple, make a valuation that's multiple yours in kind of like the matter of weeks. It's definitely demoralizing. And I think it will disincentivize certain builders from building something that's actually valuable or innovative and kind of like just focus on like launching meme coins. So there is like a potential downside. Yeah. But I think there are upsides to like this meme coin media. One, I think memes at their core, like they're an important part of culture. I think like it's kind of like impressive that people think they shouldn't have any value. Memes have kind of decided elections before, right? We've seen that too. So it's kind of like they are very important and they have virality built into them, right? But now, going back to what you were saying, I think what's really important is something like Solana, which is kind of like obviously had a lot of users onboarded through this meme coin mania. That's actually really good for a lot of those builders that are building apps.
Exactly.
Because all these apps obviously, like kind of need network effects and kind of like users to kind of bootstrap that flywheel, right? And I think now that you have these users onboarded the Solana wallet and stuff like that, it's much easier for them to kind of like participate in other protocols and especially if these meme coins, bring like kind of like a wealth effect to people on Solana. That's even better because now they have money to use these protocols, use some of these things that people are building. So I think it is something that like is kind of like a good organic, like, it's not something like Anatoly kind of like designed or anything like that, right? Which I think it makes it even better. Whereas obviously you've seen some other layer ones kind of like try and force it or design it. I think that kind of organic kind of like growth of this meme coin media mania on Solana will result in a lot of like good fundamentals for some of the projects that kind of like come out later this year.
And just the fact that it's stress testing in ways, I mean, obviously DeFi did it. I'm not saying we didn't have on-chain, a lot of people transacting on-chain or a lot of activity or apps that had a lot of users in the past, but it's a whole new level now. And I think not only is it helping Solana in that regard, but it's also forcing other teams like, I'm sure Base would have crushed it anyways and would have had this initiative to expand and make sure they can bring a ton of users and partner with Coinbase and all these things. But it feels like it's lit a fire under a lot of like other L1s or L2s. And it's kind of speeding up, like giving us a test run of if a lot of the ideas people have been investing in and betting on and want to make happen, like it's giving us a picture of what that would look like. Can it all live on this chain? Does it have to use all these chains at once? Like we're getting, it's like a sandbox version of like what crypto can become. And I'm kind of just viewing it as that. Like, yeah, it's always going to exist. It's always going to be a casino element to it. But I also think that it has some like hidden positive externalities that I don't think anyone could have expected. Just at the scale it's happening, I guess.
Solana's basically become like a big centralized exchange at this point, right? Like that's one thing I say later in the thread, which is like basically all of these normie friends were on two things. They were on Coinbase and they were on Solana.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like wild to think about because I think like last cycle, a lot of like either traders or even investors were the way that they were allocating their portfolio was like, all right, what are like the lowest denominated coins on Coinbase, right?
Yeah.
Like a Doge or something like that. But now you kind of have to like factor Solana into that as well, right? Because Solana is not hard to get onto, and it's pretty intuitive to use, right? Like a lot of these normie friends, I haven't shown them how to use Solana. I haven't done like any kind of like guide or tutorial. They just figured it out themselves.
That's awesome.
And some of them are using like Bird's Eye, right? Like that was like very impressive to me that like they have it like bookmarked, right? And they're just like checking what's like new, launched and stuff like that too. So it's literally teaching them how to like navigate, on chain and stuff like that, which is honestly great to see.
God, another one I'm just thinking about. There's always been a need to be on the best exchanges. In the past couple of years, it's gotten harder for any American. Like even if you don't want to trade derivatives or use leverage, just to trade the best tokens has been kind of a challenge if you're not on Bybit or Binance or wherever it is. I think the most recent surge of 2024, it's now switched it back in favor of like, you can do this from anywhere in the world. And that's pretty powerful in itself too. Like more focus on DEXs again, more focus on chain. I think it is better for everyone. Whether or not the assets people are buying right now is better for everyone. Totally different discussion. But some of the outcomes that this will produce, I think are long-term pretty damn good. All right, so we covered the meme coins. I guess the only other thought with meme coins and how much they're focused on that group specifically is, I would guess last cycle, I don't know if you talked to them around then, but that group probably would have been interested in NFTs. Like I think meme coins have taken a lot of the NFT interest. Like, did you talk to them about NFTs at all? What do you think about that?
You know what? One thing that I kind of took away was a lot more of them are participating in meme coins than they were in NFTs. A few of these guys were definitely deep in NFTs last cycle. They definitely got burned, honestly. They bought a lot of like, they weren't buying kind of like the blue chips.
Sure.
Because like obviously those were pretty expensive, right? But they were kind of like minting anything and everything last cycle, and they were not doing well on it, right? So a lot of them have made kind of like a lot more money already on meme coins than they had on NFTs, or so far, right? Who knows if they just hold it back to zero? We'll kind of see. So yeah, I think there is definitely some kind of like, I think meme coins are obviously very similar to NFTs in certain ways. I think like the way that I think about it though is like, NFTs are memes in crypto culture, right? Like, we love punks. Pudgy penguins are a big thing. And I think pudgy penguins have been doing a good job of like, going a little bit more mainstream. You really have to explain that to like, non-crypto people, right? Like most people, if you tell them like, oh, like why is a punk worth like a couple mil or whatever, most of them are gonna like laugh at you, whatever. Whereas you tell them, oh, dog whip hat is worth like $3 billion, they're like, that's funny. That kind of makes sense. You know, like what? Yeah. Like it's not that ludicrous to them because they're just like, it's kind of like a fuck you to like, society and stuff. As far as like, like this is worth as much as this company. So I think one cool thing about meme coins is they're much more of a global movement, right? Like it's not really embedded in crypto culture. If anything, some of the funnier ones that, they may start in crypto culture, but it can permeate way past that. Like Bowden, I think, was one of their favorites that, even my wife, when I showed her, but like I bought Bowden just because when I showed her like the picture and that it was Geo Bowden, she just started dying. And I was like, all right, this is a good meme, right? So like, I think that's like one big difference for sure.
All right, another one. This one I love to see. This is actually one of my favorites. And I don't even mean to glaze Ansem, but you said that you found he was their favorite follow. That's where they're getting information. And the reason it's my favorite, I want to get your take on this, is because that means they're using crypto Twitter as probably their main source of info versus crypto YouTube. And I think that is, I haven't talked to like a ton of normies in that sense to get that vibe, but it feels like that. And I'm not really sure why I have that feeling. Maybe crypto Twitter feels more alive, but that's pretty awesome to see versus last cycle was way more crypto YouTube. That's kind of where normies were focused.
So this was a fun one to talk about. I'm good friends with, Z and Ansem. And some of those guys have actually met Ansem. Last year we were hanging out in the city and stuff. And this was before he was obviously always pretty big, but he's got, crazy in the past 9 months. Yeah. So one thing that I took away from here was like, they're using crypto, they're using YouTube just for guides and stuff. So like how to farm specific airdrops, but they're not like following, maybe some like a
BitBoy,
crypto lark or like dated that, something like that. Right. Like back in the day. And meanwhile, they've kind of had to come on crypto Twitter. They've really learned that Twitter is kind of where crypto lives. And the cool part about it is like a lot of these people don't use Twitter for anything else. Yeah. They only use it for crypto. So just like an app for them to get crypto news and information. So, while we were at dinner, I actually was showing them some people that, I think they should follow and kind of like based off their goals and what they're looking for, etc. And the cool part about it is they were already following most of them. So like not only are they only like following Ansem and stuff, but they've kind of gone deeper down the rabbit hole. A lot of them just love Z, like Ansem, because like they just feel like he shoots from the hip and like he, just says what he's thinking. Whereas they think that like a lot of other crypto threads and stuff they see are like very like well articulated and like
through it, the
person, they can tell that the person is like written it over days, right? Whereas like Ansem, they're like, yo, he thought it and pressed tweet, right? So that was cool to see.
Twitter just, obviously I'm biased. I've lived on crypto Twitter for 6 or 7 years now, but it has, I think we do a way better job, not only of policing, but ideas are tested better. Just like the people that have louder voices there, like they have a bigger megaphone. I just think it does a better job of sorting for that versus YouTube kind of has like a weird incentive system where you can kind of game the system and do like YXRP is going to 10,000X tomorrow. And like, if I produce that video every day for the rest of the year, I would probably have more subscribers than if I did a podcast. So it's like that obviously wouldn't work on Twitter though, because people call you out. They're like, dude, this is bullshit. It's a weird discrepancy. You would think they give you the same outcome, but YouTube, Twitter, it's just cool to see. I was happy to see that.
Well, one thing that I was surprised about was like, they don't really, a lot of them don't really listen to crypto podcasts, which like I think is like sometimes like a great way to get into crypto, right? I still listen to some podcasts.
Yeah.
Obviously, Delphi has like the Hive Mind.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. I think the Blockverse guys have been crushing. And I was surprised that they really, they didn't really have like a favorite podcast or anything like that. They're really just more so on crypto Twitter doing their own research and in group chats. Like, their group chats are like going wild. Back to what I was saying earlier, like they were showing me like scrolling through a group chat and man, it's like just as active as like some Telegram groups I'm in. So many tickers, I had no idea. Like one I shouted out was like this one circle, right? Like you looked, you ape. Never heard about that before. And I was like, man, this is such a great meme. How hasn't someone told me about this in crypto? So it was cool to see for sure.
I wonder if the podcast thing, I wonder if that's a function of like right now, you probably don't even benefit from like hearing what a lot of the smartest builders and investors are saying. You could just be on Twitter, just find someone who's picking good memes. And it's like, dude, this is the alpha. Like, I don't care what he's talking about the next layer one. It's like, that's all they need. So I wonder if it tips back ever.
Yeah, it's kind of like why we're doing this pod, right? Like, why would they listen about, even if podcasts are having Memecoin episodes, they're just talking about what they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, like I don't need to listen to this. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And then these people will potentially follow. So it is interesting.
You also said quite a few of them in the Bitcoin ETFs. We talked about this on how that might have played a role in just more people. It cements it. This isn't a scam. It's not going away. And for the people that still had that in their mind for whatever reason, it's kind of like, I don't know. I think that's the final nail in the coffin. Best performing ETF of all time at launch. I mean, how can you ignore it? Like, what do they have any thoughts about the Bitcoin ETF? Are they buying Bitcoin ETF? Like, is that their Bitcoin exposure? It's all ETF, or what's the split there?
Yeah, so what's cool is a lot of them have, like, basically all of them have IRAs, right? And they're still like contributing to that, etc. Maybe that's kind of the contribution has gone down since like crypto's been pumping.
Yeah.
We didn't dive into that honestly, but we like, so they've been doing a lot of like they moved a lot of money into the Bitcoin ETF, and a lot of them went into Coinbase. They just want more crypto exposure because they think the market is like, they kind of agree with us where they think the market is just missing this. They see crypto Twitter, and obviously sometimes this may not look the best, but like I think a lot of times on crypto Twitter, like our community is like mocking like the real society, right? And now they kind of get why we're doing that, right? They're just like, yeah, like, you guys are right, and these people are like blatantly wrong. Like, so you know, a lot of them work at investment banks and stuff too, and some of them work at banks that have like been changing their ratings, like JPM and stuff. Whether it's like, you know, be neutral on coin or something like that, right? And they're just like, guys, like this is obviously not the right take here. So not only have they moved, you know, a lot of the money on their in their IRAs to things like Coinbase and the Bitcoin ETF, but one part of this conversation that I really enjoyed was like how many of their parents were buying the Bitcoin ETF. And I think it goes back to like what you were saying earlier, which is like, yeah, it's just like a product that they're much more familiar with. And it kind of gives Bitcoin this credibility that it's kind of never had before, right? So like now the parents feel comfortable where it's like, okay, like if BlackRock's doing it, why can't I allocate, you know, 1%, 2% or whatever of my portfolio into this thing? So that was really cool to see. And it honestly happened faster than I expected.
Shout out Gensler for protecting all the
of course. Yeah, man.
all the Americans. Now they can safely buy at $60,000. When we tried to do this, what, 5 years ago is when the Winklevoss twins tried to get the ETF passed?
Yeah, man, it's better than that, right?
Oh my God, dude. All right. Second half of this, I kind of want to move into now what crypto natives, or at least people that maybe, you know, they're looking at this stuff all the time. They're living on crypto Twitter. They've been in this for years. I think that a lot of them are also playing that same game that you just talked about, Memecoin focus, Solana focus, and that's kind of the best game in town. So why think about anything else? I do think there's probably quite a few people though that are full-time crypto, and we're trying to figure out, like, is any money going to flow back to the real stuff? Like, is there a reason to look at other things? And one of the things that you noted with your friends is like none of them are farming Eigen or Ethena. No one's really thinking about DeFi. No one's thinking about what everyone's been investing in and building for the past 5 or 6 years. And so I want to contrast like what we just talked about with like some of the ideas that you think should maybe get more attention, give people some Delphi alpha and get the actual reports.